And there you can see the drivers heading out onto the circuit to start their first final. And what is the race that is coming up next? It is the OK Junior final, 20 laps, 25.5 kilometre race distance ahead of us over the course of this weekend. 30 qualifying heats have been done already, plus their 2 super heats. Now it's time for the final. Myself, Anthony Jordan, Guillaume Alvarez in the commentary box. Guillaume, the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Air temp's only 14 degrees, but a look at the actual category that's going to be going out first. Ages 12 to 14 years old for the OKJ category. 95 entries in total has been whittled down to just the 36 that we have out now. 35 nationalities from all over the globe racing this weekend. And obviously, we've had to say goodbye to a few of them. We've got the 125cc engines on board on this one. The OKJ engines, 29 brake horsepower. Total weight, including the driver, 140 kilos. Any grams underneath that, and they get in quite a bit of bother with the scrutineering and the stewards, of course, at the end of it. Tyres being used this weekend, the dry tyres out there for our drivers. The Maxxis option tyres. They'll have had allocated tyres all the way throughout this weekend, but now they're down to all with a brand new set of tyres. All the drivers have got the same conditions. The only thing they've got to deal with is their chassis and engine builders, everything like that. The championship, though, as it stands, has changed dramatically. It is now Dries Van Langendonck who leads the way from Rocco Coronel. Niklas Schaufler in third from Kenzo Craigie. It's Filippo Sala and Sebastian Lehtimaki who round out the top 6. That has changed dramatically. Schaufler, who was leading going into this weekend, now finds himself third and down by 22 points. A win in this one would certainly help him out, but with the likes of Van Langendonck and Coronel in this one, it is going to be a tough fight. Guillaume, this is what we've all been looking forward to. The grandstand starting to fill out here. The drivers on the dummy grid. The tension is building now.
The tension is indeed building this afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Bonjour à toutes et tous, and welcome back, if you've been with us before, to the karting of Val d'Argenton, and a close look to the couple of drivers that are about to take the start, with Alpes later on the right, being cheeky as well. Filippo Sala in the middle. Some of the protagonists coming up in the OK Junior final for round 2 of Champions of the Future. The first ever visit of the series created back in 2020 by the RGMMC Group to this track. Rebirth of this beautiful facility back in 2020 and during the years following, with all the marshals, the Orange Army as we like to call it, down onto the track, ready to get going for 2 finals, the last 2 races in 36 in total in the course of 3 days. And without them, without the passion and commitment, nothing of this would be possible. The grandstands and the people in it are getting themselves ready as well. The biggest grandstand you will ever find on any karting track around the world for this beautiful facility that has been renovated over the years by Mr. Arnaud Sarrazin and his entire team. One last word from the officials and our race director Martin Bean to the competitors of the OK Junior category waiting along in the shade, because it's been getting very hot and sunny ever since we got here in France. And at this point in time, still very much so, dry conditions, 23 degrees Celsius in the air, perfect conditions to go racing. Here is Fabrice Dubois in the middle, with Martin Bean to the right, Alex Bernardis, our colleague from RGMMC on the left. Fabrice Dubois, multiple title won in IndyCar in France, his 20th season this year in karting, and he makes us the honor of being with us today to lead the drivers onto the grid. Good to see Fabrice Dubois, one of the local legends of karting in France for the past 2 decades. And another news about Fabrice Dubois, he will be carrying the torch at the upcoming Paralympics of Paris 2024. So well done to Fabrice Dubois here with us this weekend. He used to be part of the IndyCar Karting Championship of France. And back a few years ago, we had the pleasure of meeting him at SA during the European Championship of those same classes. So Fabrice Dubois with us this weekend as the mechanics and the drivers wait on the pre-grid. Now, this is the calm before the storm, isn't it, my dear Anthony? As we get ourselves ready, the tension is slightly building up in the air for this first of the 2 finals. Who will take the crown at the end of this first of the 2 races? 20 laps to go through. We have on to the right Martin Bean, our race director, with Gonzalo Plante and Ross Ashton, some of the officials of the RGMMC group, discussing the proceedings, having a laugh as well. The sun has been with us the entire week, except some rain during the practice sessions coming to this event, but ideal conditions for this beautiful track near the city of Nantes, in a place called, would you believe it, La Folie, which means madness in French. And madness has been part of this event ever since it got started in a couple of qualifying heats and in this morning's super heat as well, particularly in turn number 1. Here is a look at Fabrice Dubois. Très heureux de te revoir, mon cher Fabrice. Merci en tout cas de ta présence parmi nous on home soil here in France.
Certainly so. Looking forward to this final, and of course, what a great place to maybe not watch the actual race. You probably don't want to be sat there while the race gets underway, but certainly prime viewing spots for so many people here at the circuit. Like you were saying, with that grandstand and, of course, all the viewing areas around the circuit as well. And there's a prime example of it as well at the edge, using some of the hills, watching from alongside. It is a beautiful day here, ready to go racing. And like you say, again, the marshals who have worked so hard over the course of this weekend, we couldn't thank them enough for their hard work and support for all of our drivers. Looks like drivers have been given a green light to get themselves seated. We are not far away from getting going for this race. And, well, the front row for this one, well, what a front row it is. Filippo Sala starting on pole position, won his superheat earlier on. And over the course of this weekend, it's been relatively good. Third overall in qualifying, 2 qualifying heat wins. His worst result this weekend has only been a P5. He starts this one on pole position. He's got the best possible starting spot for this. He's got that inside line. He'll have to push from the drivers who will be starting behind him, the likes of Kenzo Craigie and Dries Van Langendonck. But those are some big names to have behind you, especially when everyone is on the same sort of tyres. Sebastian Lehtimaki will be starting alongside. He finished P4 in his superheat as well. He's had a relatively decent run of racing. Pole in qualifying for Sebastian Lehtimaki. He was 6th in the championship standings going after the qualifying heat. He is still 6th in the championship standings after the superheats as the 5-minute board gets put up into the air there. Fabrice Dubois doing a superb job there, helping out our officials here at RGMMC in Val d'Argenton in France. Second row of the grid is looking a little bit interesting. Kenzo Craigie and Rocco Coronel, the final winner from Valencia. Guillaume is starting on the second row of the grid. What do you think he can do from the outside of row 2?
Well, it's always the trickiest of the 2 lines to find yourself in, isn't it? Coming to turn number 1, especially on that circuit where the kick onto the right and the braking point of the first turn is very narrow. And we have seen a couple of overtaking maneuvers, but not the easiest place to do so. And the outside line, I would say Rocco Coronel certainly would have preferred to find himself on the other side of the track. But it's going to be starting just behind this young man, Sebastian Lehtimaki, on the outside for Koski Motorsport. His first race with his new colors for the former Tonica driver, Sebastian Lehtimaki. Late change in the first part of the season, but that has proved very fruitful. And one of his former teammates, Pohjola, will be starting further back. Further back onto the grid. This is Jorge Pohjola from 9th on the pre-grid here. Will be on the inside at the wheel of his Tonica machine, the driver from Finland. So a couple of big names, but Rocco Coronel will be one to watch. He won the opening round in Valencia, certainly more than willing to make it 2 in a row. Watch out as well for this young man from Briton, Kenzo Craigie, wearing the Prema Racing colors with the Kart Racing machine. He's been absolutely consistent and performant all throughout the qualifying heats, picking up a couple of second and third place results. He did well in his super heat 1 of this morning, finds himself on the second row on the right side coming to turn number 1. Would be tempted to put my money on Craigie, looking at the consistency and the pace he's been able to build throughout the qualifying heat. But as we often see in karting, what happens in the qualifying heat can be entirely different when it comes to the final. One is not the other, and even though we might have seen domination for one or two drivers through the course of the qualifying races yesterday and the day before, the best scenario can come to a change, and sometimes to going from worse to bad to even worse coming to the final.
Certainly so. Rocco Coronel, like we said earlier on, winner of the final in Valencia, looking to see if he can capitalise on his fourth place start on this one. Like you say, won his superheat earlier on today. Only qualified 18th on Thursday. Didn't have the best run in that one, but the qualifying heats certainly were good. 2 second places, a 6th and 11th. Did take a qualifying heat win in the middle of the day. Well, it was actually the start of yesterday. The start of the qualifying heats on Friday. Of course, today being Saturday, we're 1 day ahead for the Championship of the Future. Dries Van Langendonck, the Belgian, finished 7th in his superheat earlier on today. Van Langendonck, who has had, well, an up and down weekend, 5th in qualifying, 3 qualifying heat wins, but had that 14th place as well. That really scuppered him a little bit, and that's why we see him a little bit further down in the order here. That one bad result, it's not the end of the world. He's still in this final, but it can certainly mean that you're not starting on the front 2 rows. He will have Kasper Reipold starting alongside. Reipold finishing in 6th place earlier on in the qualifying heat. Again, another driver who has had good results over the course of this weekend. 6th in qualifying, did have a qualifying heat win, 3 third places and a 4th. Again, looking to capitalise on that one. Again, he's on the outside line. He's got some work to do ahead of him here. He's got quick drivers in front of him. He's also got quick drivers behind him. Like we were saying earlier on, the American Devon Volts, who finished 2nd, and Boris Lysin, who also finished 2nd in their superheats. They are starting just behind him on the 4th row.
That's for the upper part of your starting grid, as the 1-minute board is being showed by Robert, our colleague from RGMC. Thank you very much, Robert. Gracias. Muchas gracias, amigo. As we're getting ourselves ready for the last few seconds before the drivers will make their way onto the track. As always, we go through 2 warm-up laps. The first one to get the tires up to temperature, and the next one to keep on doing so while putting yourselves together for the grid. Rolling start, as always. Devin Waltz, the American, and number 40 for Forza Racing, will be just behind Dries Van Langendonck, the 2 drivers from the same British team, certainly willing to help each other out in the heart of the battle. 20 laps, the longest race for the juniors, heading towards the track of Val d'Argenton. That's going to be an epic spectacle in ideal conditions. As you can see, a very nice view from the back end of the grid. The back end starting onto the turn number 13. Keep an eye on that one as well, because the drivers go flat out through that right curve, reaching a top speed of about 125 up to 130 km an hour. The whistle has been blown, the green flag is up in the air, and the drivers make their way onto the track, getting those Maxxis tires up to temperature. Maxxis, one of the new latest additions to the world of karting for the CIK classes that we have welcomed here at Champions of the Future. A new partner has been very efficient, providing a lot of information and return of data to the competitors. And let's keep in mind that those drivers in both classes had to use 6 tires, so 1.5 sets from qualifying all the way to the superheat. But now it's down to 0 with a brand new set. So fresh boots for everybody. It all comes down to 0, equal chance, so to speak, between the competitors, and it all comes down to the best of them.
Certainly does. Well, the OK Junior final now starts to begin. 20 laps is ahead of us. Let's take you through the full starting lineup for this one. Filippo Sala and Sebastian Lehtimaki going from row 1. Kenzo Craigie and Rocco Coronel on row 2. Dries Van Langendonck and Kasper Reipold, they round out the top 6 on row 3, with Devon Volts and Boris Lysin on row 4. Jol Pohjola and Roman Kamiab round out the top 10 on row 5, with Niklas Schaufler, who was the former championship leader, starts this one in P11. We'll have the American of Jack Iliff alongside, with Kosa Aguma and Zhao Zijun rounding out row 7. Zhang Jose and Kere Fairhand round out row 8, with row 9 being Bruno Kriek and Dean Hugendorn.
Then we have on row number 10, Kit Belowski and Scott Marsh, followed on row number 11 by Alice Girardet and Jacopo Martinez. Row 12, Gianmato Russo and William Kaleha. Row 13, Alfie Slater and Mats van Rooyen. Row 14, Arjen Krelling and Archie Lovett, as well as row 15, Paul Andriotis and Ash Ostein. Alex Martinez and Andrea Mani on row 16. Row 17, Matt Corby and Vladimir Ivanikov, followed by Christian Costoya and Iskandar Zulfikari. Race control with David Manchester, Joanna Falcao, very much onto their job, keeping a close watch on all the screens with the tens of cameras that we have surrounding the track to make sure that every single piece of action is cautiously looked at, and they are the ones giving the reports to the officials, following any decisions that might be taken for any action during the race. Drivers know of this, and let's hope for a great battle on track as the 36 best junior drivers of the weekend head towards the lights out in just a few seconds by the race director Martin Bean.
Well, here we go then. 20 laps is upon us as we get ready to go racing. It's a false start. They get a little bit too feisty on that inside row. Filippo Sala will have to bring it back and dial it back a few knots there. false start then for the first attempt in the OK Junior final, sends the drivers back around again. Well, again, just a reminder then for the championship standings then going into this one. Van Langendonck leads it, but he starts this one on the third row of the grid. He's got work ahead of him on this one. Rocco Coronel, who is second, starts on the second row of the grid. Niklas Schaufler, who's now third, is on the sixth row of the grid. Kenzo Craigie, who is fourth, is on the second row. To put it into context for Filippo Sala and Sebastian Lehtimaki, Sala is the highest of the front runners who's in the championship standings. He is currently fifth in the championship standings, yet he starts on pole. Sebastian Lehtimaki is sixth place, so they are line astern in the championship standings going into this one, and they start alongside. Certainly going to be for an interesting final, and going in towards turn one as well is a challenge. We have seen how narrow it is. We have seen instances where we've seen them three wide, and that looks scary enough as it is, but it does tighten on the exit as you get into the pinch point of turn number two and then down into the hairpin of turn three. Right, in through the final corner. Again, it's another false start. They're too eager on that inside row. Lehtimaki not getting on the power there. I mean, I don't know what to even call on that one, but that is two false starts now. They need to be careful. One more, and they might get in trouble. Yeah,
definitely so, as Martin Bean is looking on the bridge to see certainly how the grid will proceed on that third attempt. Hopefully this will be the good one, but difficult to keep a decision and to make a decision about whether it was Filippo Sala getting on throttle a little bit too soon, or indeed, as you suggested, Sebastian Lehtimaki dragging a little bit behind. But one thing is for sure is that the two lines were not pretty much side by side coming across the start-finish line, and that's something that we don't like to see. We've had a couple of those restarts and a second attempt throughout the course of the qualifying heat, which is part of the business. That's usual to see that in the world of kart racing. A lot of people in the grandstand. Thanks very much again for coming towards Val d'Argenton. We'll see how this starting procedure will happen this time around. But the sun is with us already. The weather is very much lovely. And thanks so much again for joining us here at Val d'Argenton in the grandstand, surrounding the facilities in the track for two great pieces of action into this final this afternoon.
Third time's a charm. Lights go green. Here we go. Down in towards turn one. Great start for Sala in the inside row. Craigie looks to the inside. Can't quite do it. Coronel on the outside gets clipped, and there's carnage in the background. Several karts off, and there's huge damage to several wagons out there. Dean Hugendorn is one of them. The 73 is down there as well. That's Scott Marsh. He's out of this race. There's a handful of others as well. Kipalowski, I think, was one. He's got going again. Girardet Martinez is one. Kalija, Slater, Van Ruin is also out there, and I think Casper Reipold is also out of this race. That is an absolute disaster, but at the front of this one, it's a two-car breakaway. Sala and Craigie have disappeared from the two behind.
They have disappeared, and Rocco Coronel have disappeared, but the other way around, tumbling down the order. Disastrous start in turn one for the Dutch driver, who was starting from row second on the grid, on the outside, as we said. There's still a couple of cars on the outside line of turn number one, but the marshals were quick to react, and the path has been made clear. Still yellow flags being waved, but now we're back to racing. But we lost a pile of drivers as we fit might happen into that first turn. Lap number two is on, and in the lead, Filippo Sala, Kenzo Craigie already pulling away 0.6 of a second in front of Lehtimaki, but Lehtimaki wasn't caught napping there. He just kept kicking the throttle on lap number two just to keep the contact alive with the two leading drivers. Van Langendonck just behind, Pohjola, Oguma, Eilif, Schaufler, Uze, and David Waltz. And no sign of Rocco Coronel all the way down to P13 with that orange crash helmet. So disastrous start of the final for Rocco Coronel, as he was certainly eager to try to make it two in a row after winning round one. Still very much possible. The race is long. He's going to have to focus back on the task at hand, and is trying to get ahead of Victor Alex Martinez from DPK Racing, who just overtook the Dutch driver. So another place lost for Rocco Coronel, I'm afraid, as in the lead. The battle for the victory is shaping up slowly but firmly between Sala, Craigie, and Lehtimaki, with the likes of Pohjola, who just got ahead of Dries Van Langendonck. So switch for a fourth position with the Tony Kart machine in front of the Belgian driver.
A complete update then of all the drivers who are out of this race in towards turn one, as we keep an eye on the live pictures. It's Casper Reipold, Bruno Grieg, Dean Hugendorn, Scott Marsh, William Kalija, Alfie Slater and Mats van Rooyen, unfortunately, all out of this race. Martinez and Girardet managed to get going again, but they are all the way down the back of the grid, running in 28th and 29th place. Back here, though, with the race leaders. No change still yet between these drivers, but Sala and Craigie lead the way as now Devon Volts is under investigation, and I suspect it's possibly for the start of that race.
And he lost a couple of positions, forced, and run inside. There's the change for the lead. Kenzo Craigie is attacking Filippo Sala. He just made it click beautifully into turn number 4, trying to protect himself from the toe and the return of the Ricky Finn driver. It's not happening quite yet. Sala losing the lead, down to P2, and he might even lose some more with the attack of Pohjola. Watch out for any wheel banging, and he goes through. Sala's losing 1, maybe 2, or even more positions into turn number 9. Dries Van Langendonck as well as Oguma, all diving through that hole created onto the racing line. That's a disastrous turn of event, unfortunately for Craigie, I'm afraid, and Pohjola in the meantime as well. Pohjola dropping down the order as Craigie is pulling away already, more than half of a second behind Filippo Sala. My apologies, as Pohjola still very much with us in second, but Filippo Sala dropping momentum just a tiny bit. He was able to get himself in front of Schaufler. I've spoken too soon. Niklas Schaufler with the 33 of DPK, getting himself ahead of the Italian.
Changed at the front as well. Dries Van Langendonck down the inside of Sebastian Lehtimaki. Moves up into P3 now as he tries to hunt down the 2 karts running away with this one. Kenzo Craigie and Pohjola first and second as they try to hold on. There's yellow flags going in towards one of the corners there. I'm trying to see who's not come through the timing thing, and I think it could be Roman Kamyab. Roman Kamyab, he's very late through his checkpoint of sector 2, and I think he may have tumbled down the order. Roman Kamyab has just dropped to 22nd on my grid. That is a huge shame for the Ricky Flynn Motorsport driver. Back here though at the front, Craigie and Pohjola line astern as they're going to be closing up to back markers very soon. Big send down the inside through turn 3. Oh, and Craigie nearly runs wide onto the grass, and it's Pohjola for Finland who leads the way and with the fastest lap of the race. He has found pace in the second half of the weekend, and the young driver from Finland who came 4th in the superheat earlier on now leads this final in France.
Well, who would you have expected Pohjola to take the lead that early into the race? It's done, and it was 9 on the grid and already leading the way on lap number 6. Not even a quarter already done of the final. Pohjola with the Tonicat machine up in the lead. Kenzo Craigie is still very much close to the leader. And we have further back is Niklas Schaufler and Dries Van Langendonck, respectively 3rd and 4th. And Lehtimaki, Oguma, the number 20, Filippo Sala under the pressure of Jack Highliff, another strong Forza Racing driver into the top 10. And we have Rocco Coronel up in P9 already. He was down to 13 at some point, and it was has run inside. There he goes, the number 10 of Jack Highliff. The door was open, and Rocco Coronel with that orange helmet of his is trying to get the toe on the inside, and it's done and dusted in turn number 5. It doesn't on-brake itself, and now it keeps the racing line alive. Rocco Coronel is up a place in P8, that is, just behind Jack Highliff, as Filippo Sala dropping 2 other places. That's really the worst scenario possible for Filippo Sala. He was so consistent in his qualifying heats, came up to pole position thanks to his second win yesterday. Did a fantastic job this morning, and this time around something's not clicking by the look of it. Don't forget that there's a new set of tires for everybody here, and we've seen differences between older and new tires through the course of that weekend. Could this be one of the explanations? Was something missing in the setup for Filippo Sala? Certainly the high competitive level of that field is another possible strong explanation, but as for the moment Sala is down to 9 and is missing 3 tenths to try to catch up with Rocco Coronel.
Well, the race progresses now. We're on lap 8 of 20. We're nearing the halfway point of this one. And, well, it's all starting to get a little bit interesting here because former championship leader Niklas Schaufler starting to close in here. The top 4 very close, but Pohjola breaking away now, 1.4 seconds clear. This is some immense pace that he's managed to find here. Lehtimaki really struggling in this one, starting on the front row of the grid, really falling down the order now into P5. Needs to really rely on these 3 starting to battle. Something tells me that that will be the case. All of these drivers in and around that top section of the championship. Van Langendonck, though, at this point where he is, in P3, would lead the championship still, though, with 160 points. Kenzo Craigie would go up to second, and, well, Schaufler will get up to third with that move into third place now, down the inside of Van Langendonck, and now goes for the charge towards Kenzo Craigie. That is an excellently timed move into the hairpin of turn 7 there. He's not had to go defensive instantly for a re-attack from Dries Van Langendonck, and now he can focus on charging now towards Kenzo Craigie, who is breaking away in second place. With that change, it benefits Schaufler just a little bit, closes in on the points between himself and Kenzo Craigie. Another position for Schaufler would certainly affect the championship points. Rocco Coronel now in his positions dropped down to 4th in the standings. Filippo Sala currently 5th in the standings. So championship points are fluctuating as we go through. It's only the second round of a 5-round championship. We're not at the halfway point yet. That will be when we go to Slovakia, to the Slovakia ring. I think it's very doubly named. But right now in Val d'Argenton in France, it is all down to Joël Pohjola, who is just breaking away now. The gap over 2 seconds now between these three, battling away for third.
And we saw a slight mistake from Niklas Schaufler, the 33 in second place. I'm afraid with a little bit of dust kicked onto the track. That might be the opportunity that Dries Van Langendonck was hoping for, as the Belgian keep on closing that gap from third in the classification. In the meantime, we, I'm afraid, lost Kit Belowski, as the British driver was due to retire, and joining a long list of almost 10 drivers having to retire from that hectic final in the opening stages. Now we're getting into halfway mode, and drivers on track are starting to get themselves into observation mode, even though all the muscles very tensed. For the first one, will crack up under the pressure. But now, Craigie, Schaufler, Pohjola, that's for your top trio. Dries Van Langendonck just behind. Can Pohjola be caught up? 2.5 seconds now. That's a brilliant piece of driving for Joël Pohjola, who picks up another fastest lap in this race. He's determined more than ever to really build enough of a gap to have for himself a nice little afternoon nap, shall we say. But still very much keeping a close watch on what's happening behind. But Craigie, Schaufler and Van Langendonck at the moment not so much attacking each other. They need to work together to try to decrease that gap as much as they can. But Pohjola keeps on responding to any potential return with the fastest lap, as you can see. Further back, Coronel on your picture with the 109. Just behind Jake Eilif and Oguma. The sprint, quite unfortunate Japanese driver, Oguma, who had to retire in his super heat this morning. Didn't prevent him to do a great recovery in the opening stages, as he climbed 8 places up to P5. So the DNF will be soon forgotten for Oguma, even though now he's going to have to cope with the pressure of those two. As I said that, oh, a little bit of a dive from the inside from Jake Eilif. And as he does that, Rocco Coronel saw that coming, and he was caught up a little bit out of pace on the exit of turn number 13, turn number 12, sorry. That was enough for Rocco Coronel to launch his move. The Dutchman is up another place in P6. He's missing 4 tenths on Kosei Oguma. The Japanese driver might be next on the list of Rocco Coronel.
Changes here because Schaufler has got up into second place now as well. He's managed to get past Kenzo Craigie, and well, has he got the momentum to close up to Joël Pohjola? The gap is 3.3 seconds, and there is 8 laps remaining. I don't think it's enough, even if he was really on the pace here. That is a huge, huge gap that Joël Pohjola has opened up here. An absolutely superb final he has had from, well, how far back in the grid? Joël Pohjola started this race P9. I mean, what a final the unfinished driver has had. Well, for Schaufler, him as well, up into P2. He started way further down as well. P11 he started this race. So drivers really far back in the field benefiting in this final, sliding their way through. And again, Joël Pohjola consistently setting fastest lap after fastest lap. This is the overtake. This is how it happened. Schaufler down the inside, and that is through the turn 7 hairpin on circuit. Just nicely timed. Kenzo Craigie not attacking or defending that one too harshly. Still there in third place. I've got to say, Van Langendonck, though, starting to close in as well. Craigie looking like he wants to try and stay on that podium, but with that change there, it does affect the championship standings. Craigie goes back to 4th in the standings. Schaufler gets up to 2nd. Coronel now back to 3rd. Still down, though, from where he was earlier on. Here is Coronel, now behind Kosei Oguma as they go through turn 1. And any position, really, that Coronel can gain here certainly benefits him in the championship standings. Winner of course, the final in Valencia. He's not in the right position here to get the win in this final. He is miles down, unfortunately. He's 6.4 seconds off the current race leader, Joel Pohjola. So the chance of closing that gap is impossible, I think, at this stage with the pace that we've got. But Aguma looking really strong, though, in P5, controlling the pace really nicely there. And you're seeing the racing lines, everyone on those fresh, brand new Maxxis tyres. And, yeah, really just putting the rubber end down. Nice tight on the apexes, not pushing it too hard. There's your race leader. We've said little bits about him, but we've not really spoke about him a lot. And what can you say? I mean, what a final he's had.
And picking up on the leader, indeed, Joel Anton Pohjola. I have a little stats, my dear Anthony.
Oh, go on.
I know that you do love number stats. Well, Pohjola is only one of the 2 Tony Kart drivers that made it to the final out of the 36. As in the meantime, Marco Cornell goes for the move, opens the door, and it's all that Jake Alif was asking for. So up another place, Cornell up into P5, taking Jake Alif with him in P6, Oguma down in P7. That's the move that we had been expecting. Then he keeps on going, Jake Alif, good momentum outside of turn number 6. Oguma might take the place back to Coronel, and it's all to do again for the Dutchman, I'm afraid, from Victory Lane. So good battle between the two as the blue flag is being waved just in front of our position in the start finish straight for some of the drivers at the back end of the classification. But we keep following that 3-driver battle. That's for a potential top 5 at the end of this junior final. Couple of laps remaining until the checkered flag. Just to pick up on that little stats, Pohjola, 1 Tony Kart driver, the second one being Scott Marsh, but no longer with us in this final. Just 2 Tony Kart drivers out of 36 competitors into the final, and one of them is about to win round 2 in Champions of the Future.
There we go. I'm sure people who were betting on a Tony Kart to win would have liked the odds with only 2 of them in this 36 kart grid. Well, like we're saying, Pohjola leading the way, gap increasing still now to just under 4 seconds. Boris Leisen gets a second warning flag. This is a final for Leisen to forget. He started this one P8. He had tumbled down the order. He's currently in P17, and now he has 10 seconds worth of in-race time penalties that have been applied to him now. That is a huge, huge shame. Here is Van Langendonck, who's in 4th place, trying to close down to Kenzo Craigie. Craigie's found some pace now. He's now starting to break away. This is good. He's trying to fight for that last spot on the podium. And, of course, anything that happens in that infield, you know, he's in a good spot there. Niklas Schaufler, though, who's had a brilliant race. P2 started at 11th, currently 2nd, 9 places he's gained. Superb, superb run. Boris Leisen, black flag has just come out. Now, that is a big one there. Boris Leisen, who started in 8th, is now completely out of this final. He will have to bring it back into Parc Fermé.
Well, we don't get to see that every day, a black flag in kart racing, and that's quite unfortunate for Boris Leisen with the Sodicat machine. He was very, very fast in the Superheat this morning, made it to P8 on the grid, but unfortunately his opening laps didn't go according to plan, fell down the order, and is currently trying to see where he is, actually.
17th.
17 indeed, all the way down. And now he finds himself out of this race due to the decision from the officials. So it remains to be seen for what particular reasons. But that's done and dusted, I'm afraid, for Leisen, despite strong progress and a lot of very nice things that he showed this weekend.
So here with Kenzo Craigie in 3rd place. A consistent final for Craigie, not pushed it too hard, not dropped back in the order either. Started this one 3rd, currently 3rd still. Just a nice, clean, good race. Pace has been on it as well. He's pushed hard, but not as hard as this young man here. Joel Pohjola for Finland for the Tony Kart Racing Team enters his final lap here at France, round 2 of the Champions of the Future. In towards turn 4 he goes onto the back straight. Well, uncontested. I mean, what a final. Started 9th, getting past the likes of Kamjab, Volts, Van Langendonck, Reipold, Craigie, Coronel, Sala and Lehtimaki. Got past all of them. You know, he's just absolutely flown through this race. Look at the gap, 4.2 seconds. This is unheard of in a final at this stage of the weekend. But for Joel Pohjola, I mean, what can you say? It is a dominant performance. His first win in a final in 2024. The driver from Finland, it's Joel Pohjola. Across the line, he wins in Val d'Argenton in France. Round 2 for the Champions of the Future. completed. Johan Pohjola takes the win from Niklas Schaufler. Kenzo Craigie rounds out the top three, and you can see there, he is delighted with that result.
Beautiful performance from Pohjola. A beautiful performance in the end for the Tony Kart factory team. Just two of the drivers qualified in the junior category in the end out of the 36 competitors, and one of them made it to the win with 4.2 seconds. What a gap, what a drive, what a masterful drive this has been from Pohjola, being congratulated by his fellow competitors. That's always what we like to see. Rocco Coronel getting past and finishing his race into P6 in the end, with Jake Heiliff getting the advantage on the Dutch driver for just 0.6 of a second. We'll get back to the full classification in just a moment. The time for the drivers and the victorious driver Pohjola to enjoy, to savor this success, first one of this season in Champions of the Future for the Tony Kart factory. Pohjola in Valencia, who made it close to the top 10 before a penalty for front fairing, pushed him down the order, down in 17 in Spain. He gets his revenge and takes his first win of the year. Here's the classification in full as it stands, to be confirmed, but Johan Pohjola wins in Val d'Argenton. Niklas Schaufler, what a drive as well. 9 places gained for the young DPK driver, up to P2 from Kenzo Craigie, running up the top 3 on the podium. From Dries Van Langendonck, Jake Heiliff, Rocco Coronel, Filippo Sala down in P7 from pole position. Certainly a disappointment for the Italian driver. Kosei Oguma finishing in P8 after climbing 5 places. From Sebastian Lehtimaki, Paul Andreottis, Gianmato Russo outside of the top 10. In front of Alex Martinez, Jan Ruzet, Arjen Kreiling, Asher Kosten, P15. P16 is Christian Kostoya, Archie Lovat, Mark Corby, Devin Walls, Roman Kanya, Vladimir Ivanikov, Jeng Zhao, Andrea Mani, Karar Firand. 24 drivers at the checkered flag out of 36. 12 drivers missing out, unfortunately, as we lost Boris Leinzen, who made it back to the pits after being shown a black flag. Jacopo Martinez out of this race, as well as Kit Belowski, Alois Girardet, Iskander Zulfikari, Kasper Rashpol, Bruno Griek, Dean Angendorn, Scott Marsh, William Kaleha, Alfie Slater and Mats van Rooyen, some of the drivers at the back end being caught in the turn 1 incident. It's time for debriefing between the summer drivers with Niklas Schaufler and Johan Pohjola, 1 and 2 of this junior final, just in front of Kenzo Craigie. Here's how things played out. At the start, first of all, with Filippo Sala with the Ricky Flynn machine on the inside, holding on to that first position from Paul. Some of the drivers are sliding. A look at the kick. That's the reason, certainly, why Rocco Coronel lost momentum at the start of this race, being kicked slightly on the outside of the track. He held his position, but doubled down the order. A couple of drivers coming together and not quite able to continue, as we lost Mats van Rooyen, Alfie Slater, William Kaleja and Scott Marsh, as well as later on Dean Angendorn, Bruno Griek and Rasper Cashbold, all falling down into the opening lap. So it was a pretty hectic first few turns into that lap number 1 out of 20, and it didn't go well, certainly, for some of the drivers out there that were quickly to lose out in this final. After that, it was a battle at the front, and we had a beautiful race from Kenzo Craigie, at some point becoming the second leader out of this race, just in front of Filippo Sala, with Johan Pohjola quickly following through. A slight contact and at least an attempt, kicking that door right open, and Pohjola forcing his way through Filippo Sala. That was the start of a very difficult race for the Griffin driver, as the door was open. There was nothing he could have done there to prevent all the overtakings, as Pohjola was again, that's a different angle, into number 7, making his way through to P2. Sala, despite all of his efforts, losing out to Lehtimaki, Jake Heiliff, Dries Van Langendonck into the chicane, as around the inside, Niklas Schaufler was starting to charge his way through as well. Another place lost for Filippo Sala, unfortunately, at the wheel of his London race machine. But Schaufler, as well as Van Langendonck, making his way past Sebastian Lehtimaki from Koski Motorsport, would unfortunately for him fell down to P9 in the end, as he was starting from the front row of the grid. Another place lost to Schaufler here for Lehtimaki. Quite an unfortunate turn of event for the very French driver from Koski, as Jake Heiliff making his bit as well on the inside, opening the door to Rocco Coronel with the Netherlands crash helmet. Rocco Coronel fighting his way through as well against Filippo Sala. Sala, who would have tried in the end to get past again in front of Coronel, but the Dutchman would have the upper hand. Dries Van Langendonck and Niklas Schaufler, the two leaders of the championship, coming to this event. Van Langendonck might indeed lose the leadership of the championship. No, he still is in the lead. My apologies, in the 156 in front of Niklas Schaufler. So those two remain in the lead after round 2, as we can see Coronel keeping the battle, keeping the charge through the field. Getting advantage on the Japanese driver Kosei Okuma, despite his DNF in the superheat of the morning, managed to climb 5 places to finish in P8. But the door was again open. Coronel would lose 2 places to Jake Heilef and Okuma before switching those places again on lap number 18. But it was a bit too late to try to replicate that maneuver on Jake Heilef. Rocco Coronel having to make do with P6. One driver at the front of the race was truly uncatchable, and he could save really this result. 4.2 seconds at the advantage at the line for Joël Pohjola in front of Niklas Schaufler. I must say that is a little bit unheard of, such a strong gap in dry conditions at this level of racing. So hats off to the Kart Racing Team and Joël Pohjola for really putting the finger on the right setup, maximizing the Maxxis tires at the perfect timing. Those conditions, this is where the drivers tend to maximize the best of themselves and of their machinery. No trouble whatsoever with the weather, so it was perfect, all coming down to the driver performance. And at that little game, well, Pohjola was there to make a difference and building that impressive more than 4-second gap at the end of those 20 laps.
Give it up for your top 3 in the OK Junior category. Please give it up now for representing Maxxis Racing, Rob Van East, to present the winner's trophy to third place driver Kenzo Craigie. We now like to present the second place trophy to Austria's Niklas Schaufler. And finally, the winner's trophy getting represented and presented to Finland's Joel Pohjola. Drivers, hold those trophies nice and high. Nice big smiles for the cameras all in front of you. Absolutely fantastic. Don't forget to raise those trophies as well, just very quickly before we present the last trophy for the team manager. I want to get those photos in first, and also presenting the team's trophies as well. Marco Ardigo, please present your team's trophy. Thank you very much, Rob. To Tony Kart having a beautiful run there. Only 2 Tony Karts in the final, and just the one making it to the end, but Tony Kart doing a brilliant job over the course of this weekend. Rob, if you'd like to join the drivers on the side of the podium there, just on this side, there we go. Nice big smiles once again with everyone on the podium. Absolutely perfect to see. Right, drivers, please raise those trophies above your head as well. And Marco, don't forget you as well. Nice big smiles as well, please, Marco. Perfect, thank you very much. Excellent. And now let's get everyone on that top step of the podium as well, drivers. All try and squeeze on nice and close. Absolutely wonderful to see. Well, a beautiful ending there under the sunshine here in France for the OK Juniors. It only leaves us with one more thing to do. Marco, you can leave at this point as the champagne comes in. You can stay there if you want, but if we bring in the bottles of champagne for our drivers, you might want to put those trophies down now and get those bottles of trophies at the ready. Mark, if you'd like to present the trophy, the bottles of champagne, please, to our drivers at the end of a beautiful final 20 laps. It now falls down to this part here. It is time for champagne! Well, give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for your top 3 in the OK Junior category here in France for Champions of the Future Round 2. Give it up for Kenzo Craigie, Joel Pohjola, and Niklas Schaufler. Joel, don't go anywhere. We're going to jump in and have a quick chat with you here, where that champagne, I'm sure, is going to be nice and sticky on you now. You'll just squeezing behind me here. Right, well, what a final that was. You were not one in the running for that one. Not to say it harshly, you were starting so back in the field there, and you came through. You overtake so many names, including the drivers next to you. What a final that was.
I have no idea. Like, when I started to the final, I think maybe podium is possible, but we had so great speed all the weekend, but it's amazing.
Yeah. It was a tough weekend all the way throughout, of course. So many harsh results. The track as well, technical, demanding, fast, a tight circuit as well. How have you found it for the first weekend here racing?
For me, it's like really funny circuit. It's really fast and nice corners. Yeah, the racing is really funny here.
So much data has now been collected. Do you think you're ready for 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm the most ready here.
Let's see what we can do. Well, for you, Joel Pohjola, congratulations. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent stuff there. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your top 3 in the OK Junior category.